Welcome to the podcast. My name is Marianne Agudo, and I'm your host for the Unpacked and Empowered Finances. The goal of this podcast is to break down the complexities of money as well as personal development into steps you can actually use. One of the goals of this podcast as well is to showcase real stories. And today we're going to talk about Samantha's story. So, Samantha Paz y Mino came from Ecuador with 20 years of experience as an educator. She studied business engineering when she was in Ecuador, and then she studied master's in educational innovation. And when she turned 40, she decided to take the leap with her family. She took on early childhood education at the New Brunswick Community College, and she just recently graduated. So, congratulations on that, Samantha. She was also one of the speakers for Disrupt HR last year, 2025. She's a vice president of membership at Toastmasters in St. John. And she also volunteers for a lot of the nonprofit communities and organizations here. So, without further ado, let's unpack the story of Samantha as an immigrant, as a newcomer to Canada. Welcome, Samantha.
Welcome. Thank you so much for your kind invitation, Marie. I'm really happy to be here today. I'm really happy to your kind invitation. I think it's a great opportunity to share your own experience and stories with all the people who have not the same path, but different paths, but it can be helpful for others to inspire and to see that everything is possible when you want and you're clear about your goals.
Absolutely. I think it's really good that other people like us would hear different stories as well. And that's why we like to showcase okay, so Samantha can share what her experience was, and maybe that can help somebody else who's watching or listening to the podcast. So I know you've had some challenges. I know you had some opportunities, but first take us back to the moment when your family decided to move from Ecuador to Canada. What was the transition like for you?
Okay, first of all, thank you for this kind invitation. I am really happy to be here.
You're welcome.
I really admire you for your job and everything. I think it's really inspiring as well. That is the most important. We can share these spaces with people that we can learn from each other. Thank you for that. Related to question, I think that it was very clear decision in our minds. We were thinking about safety, stability, and opportunities for our family. Because in our home country, we think that we already did everything that we really wanted to do with my husband. But in one moment in our life, the sense of insecurity keep growing. And in that moment was the most important thinking in our family, in our daughter, that offer her a better opportunities, not only personal opportunities as well professional opportunities for the whole family. In that moment, it was thinking that we need to go another place where we can have other opportunities and the doors will be open for us. The transition was not easy. Leaving everything behind is really hard because it's not only to take the decision and make the decision, it's just to emotional issue because you are thinking about the people, the family. It's your whole life living and you are leaving behind you the whole life, the experiences, the people that you know. It's really hard to know. I remember one day when my daughter said bye to their grandparents, she was really sad and said, when I'm going to see them again, that was heartbreaking for me and my husband. And when we saw the photos before and today, I say, oh, it's a very big difference because we didn't know what was happening with us to here. We just want to take the decision and to do it. And at the same time, it's an act of courage and love because decision
Absolutely.
because it's just like thinking just in your family and the well-being, and you say, okay, everything is possible, we can do it.
Yeah, it's really great. And thank you for sharing that. I think one thing that we actually forget is that just taking that one step, one big step of a leap of faith it really helps us grow as well. I know you're a lifelong learner, and being outside of your comfort zone can sometimes be like nerve shattering. but you're here and you're active in the community, like I said earlier, and you're just doing things that I think not only helps you, but also helps other people. Now, you mentioned about some insecurities in the past, and I know that you always like to evolve as well. How did your perspective on yourself and your future begin to shift once you started building a life here?
Okay. I think that the most important when you are thinking about that is like when I have the opportunity to be a speaker in Disrupt, that moment represent a very big um, professional growing in my life because I not just was a person who was speaking in a different language that is my first language because my first language is Spanish, but I was with 100 people. I
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be fluent about my own journey. In that moment, I think, oh wow, I could do this in front of 100 people. At the beginning, I was um, really scared. But the people
Mm-hmm.
around me was really kind. And there were a lot of people who has years and years of speaking in front of a lot of people. And they still were nervous as well. In that moment, say, oh, we are humans. We have the same emotions. In that moment was a big challenge, but at the same moment helped me to understand through my message how I can grow and how I can help others to empower them. Adding personal commitment to myself. That was really,
Mm-hmm.
really great. I think immigration changed you a lot because it challenged you a lot. It builds resilience in different ways that you have never imagined. I began to myself to be more confident and clarity because instead the years that you have like experience as professional or personal, these kinds of changes help you to be a better person. But when I say better person, I mean in these moments, I really understand that I want to grow my mindset. That is the most
Mm-hmm.
important now to understand that my develop is in myself, inside of
Yeah.
me. When I understand these kinds of things, you stop comparing with others because you understand that every person has different journey and you respect and value all the unique journeys that everybody has.
Yeah, that's true. And when I listened to your, I know I wasn't there, but I listened to your video about, yeah, what I like about what you said is focus on what your definition of success is for you, that success to others is not the same as what you define success is. And if you focus on that, it's going to help you a lot. And what you said right now about like you're just focusing on, I know with us, because English is not our first language, we also have a tendency to like translate what we want to say. Like
Yeah.
we could sometimes get bogged down like thinking how I'm going to say this right. But having that courage that you're speaking to 100 people, but you said you're focusing on what you want to deliver, the value that you wanted to deliver, instead of focusing on, am I going to say something's wrong, or am I going to like on the way that I speak, is that going to impact? No, but in your case, you focused on really sharing your experience and the value that you want to bring to the community. So I think that's great. Now, we talk about language too, and like how you're shaping your identity. How do you think families like us can preserve language, traditions, and our own identities while still adapting to our lives here in Canada?
Okay, first of all, as a teacher, as educator, as a mom, as an immigrant, as a wife, and different roles that we have, I think language is the
Mm-hmm.
because as families and immigrants, as newcomers, sometimes we have the concern that our children need to learn English, and that is in rush. Okay, they need to learn English. They need to. Okay, yeah, but you need to stop one moment. During the environment, you know that according with the Russian psychologist like Vygotsky, that was a lot of years ago, he understand we are social.
Mm-hmm.
We learning by being social. It means that they are going to learn, especially the little ones. They absorb very fast the language and everything that they have. It means our role as an immigrants and newcomers, as families, to keep our language, traditions, and culture because that is something that we have in our countries. But if we don't keep here, that is something that is going to be a big challenge. English, French, they are going to learn. But our traditions, our language, that is something that we really need to keep. It's very sad. Unfortunately, as educator, I have the opportunity to share with a lot of children, and most of them, they don't know their own language because they forget. They say, no, because I came here when I was 2 years, 3 years, but I don't know. Just my mom, my dad speak with me a few words, but I don't know. That is really hard and heartbreaking, because that is part of you, who you are, because
Yeah.
your language, your culture is something about. I have something that I was writing the last week for my LinkedIn post, and I want to share with you. I say, it's not about choosing one culture over the key. It's about integrating both. It's not about choosing one of these one. It just integrate both. How you can do that? Maybe you are wondering about that. First of all, when you have your family, you can telling stories about traditions, about culture. You can make a funny recipe at home about, oh, we can do something. We have a small album with my daughter about the photos of the family, about traditions, about parties, about this one, that Kate can connect something that maybe she can forget. Tell stories in their own language. It means try to identify meaningful family moments that they understand the language is the key. Maybe they speak, but the next step as a parent is like to write and to read the language. That is the challenge as parents and caregivers who are living in another country.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm actually a bit guilty on the language part.
Okay.
I gave birth to my youngest here in St. John. And because English, again, is my second language, I'm also like, I want to make sure that I'll speak that all the time so that I can be fluent in speaking that. And because of that, I keep talking to my daughter in English. She understands Filipino sometimes, but I need to work on getting her introduced to more of our language rather than English, because she can easily learn that here where she's growing up here. And I like it that the community here in St. John, especially, we are like the locals are very welcoming. We understand that they also respect the like the diverse community. And there are some events, even in our schools, right? In our school systems, we get invited to like, you can showcase your country. They want to learn about us. We want to learn about them. And I think that it's just great that we welcome our unique differences as well. So, what do you think it means to honor our shared humanity while still recognizing that each immigrant's path is unique?
Okay. Before to answer your question, I say don't feel guilty. Never is late to do something, because
Yep.
you know everything with love. As a mom, you can do everything for them, and never is late. You can do that. The important thing is like to understand, oh, we can do now. The problem is when you
Yes.
know something and you don't do anything to change. But if you understand something and because maybe you don't notice. Yes. But when somebody else tell you, maybe say, oh, that is true, we can do that. This one that I tell you now is because when I arrived, is not something that I have in my mind. But during the interactions with other family, I see the situation, and one family of one of my friends, she told me about, we keep our roots, we keep our language, and say, oh, yes, that is true. You see, it's the interactions that you have helped you to notice some things that maybe you don't notice before. Don't feel guilty.
Thank you.
About the question, I think it means leading with empathy and respect. This is the most important, because instead a culture tradition that you have, always respect and empathy is the best way. Not just sympathy, is to be empathy with people. Maybe you don't know the culture with others, but you can get informed about that. If you ignore something, you can get informed, you can search information, you can do a lot of things. Because as immigrants, you know, all of us, we have different journey, we have different challenge. It means we don't know how the other person are living. For this reason, I think the key of everything is respect. And if you
Abs-
see my LinkedIn, I have one methodology that I created in my country that calls respect. It's especially
yes.
about that. It's always is respect is the key of everything. When I talk with children, educators, or everything, with everybody, I say I don't have rules because you can say, I this. It's like the only thing is respect. When you have respect, you know you have better relations, you have better interactions with people because you know the boundaries that you have. To set boundaries, you say, this is the limit. That is the way that I can be polite with one person. If I
Mhm.
disagree with other person, okay, I can find the empathetic way to be respectful and empathy at the same time. It means this is the cornerstone of everything, empathy and respect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really resonate to that. It's up to us as well to like how do we actually grow? We need to learn about other cultures as well so that we know how to engage, we know how to communicate with them. Whether it's professionally, we want to be able to connect with them emotionally as well. Sometimes we might not meet, like, we're not going to be always agreeing, we're not going to be on the same page all the time, but at least that respect is very important that it's there to build communities and really having empathy to one's experience that it could be different than yours is really great to have. um, Now, the reason I reached out to you is because, as you know, I admire you. I've been seeing you on LinkedIn. We're connected, we like each other's posts, we are on the same Toastmasters, not technically not the same group of Toastmasters, but at the same time, I see that you're being posted on LinkedIn as well by the other people that we're connected with. For example, Sen Hao, at the St. John Newcomer Center. Now, I really think that you're doing good when it comes to getting immersed in the community, building meaningful connections. I saw you're having lots of friends in the community. So, what role has community, even networking and meaningful connection, played in helping you feel grounded and confident here?
Uh, I think that is really important to feel grounded. Is like seeking community and support. That is
Mhm.
really important. I can tell you that even before arriving, I was already connected with people before to come here because that was of one of my topic in my disrupt speech that I explained that many people ask me about, but why did you find a job very fast or something, these kinds of things. But my job was not when I arrived in August 2024. My job was some months ago when I started connecting with people. It means I try to do exchange emails, build connections, and virtual meetings with people from the college,
Mhm.
from different institutions here. It means that key is like to get informed, to seeking support. Sometimes when we are newcomers, we think or we are scared to ask for support because depends of your country, you don't have the same benefits or the same support of different countries. I can talk about all the countries because they're different. But according to my experience, we don't have the same support. But when I arrive here and I start getting informed on LinkedIn, because that is the network that I use a lot, because I'm not a Facebook person or these kinds of things, but LinkedIn is really professional. I really like this one. For this reason, I started growing my community first when I was in
Mhm.
Ecuador. And after, when I see the power that you have with connections, I see this is the key of everything. But I noticed
Mhm.
this one before to come. And when I say, okay, if I have the opportunity to go to Canada, I can know the people there. I started looking for people, getting connections online about the institutions. I remember I downloaded the whole guide of New Brunswick. There is online the guide of New Brunswick about. I download everything. I print it. I have the physical copy here.
Okay, so you actually utilized it. That's good.
Yes, exactly. I have I didn't have a lot of things, but in my backpack, in my suitcase, I bring the whole guide of the province to read, to see the organizations, to send emails. And some of
Mhm.
them answer, other no. But especially St. John Newcomer Center that I really appreciate this because they support a lot. Since the first day I connect with them, my family and all of them really was really helpful for me. I think that what truly helped me adapt was be proactive. That
Mhm.
I think that was to be really proactive and not just to say, I need to know people. It's like to take actions about that. Because sometimes you say, oh, but I would like to have more friends or to make connections, but you don't attend any networking event. You don't go any workshop. My question is how you can do that if you don't take action.
Absolutely. That's true.
Mhm.
I really like the word proactive. Proactive is the word that I was looking for earlier when I was talking about how would you learn about other people? How would you connect to them? How would you connect to the local community if you're not proactive? And I guess that's really what is needed, whether it's looking for a job, you have to be proactive, you have to build connections, and you may have to also maintain that connections. And actually, I don't just want to meet people online. I actually want to meet them in person because who knows what kind of relationship we're going to build from there, right? And that's how I met you as well in person because I reached out to you. So, yeah, that's one. Being proactive is great. And I guess let's go back. What was the first season of life for you in Canada life? How was your adjustment?
Okay, I think that it is nice because when you are thinking, you have a lot of ideas in your you have a lot of ideas in your life and you are thinking about the experiences that you have, right?
Mhm.
I think that something that I tell you before is exactly the same. Like before starting this journey is like to the connections. It really helped us a lot was the connection before because even to arrive, I really know where where I need to go because I arrived here.
Mhm.
Many people I didn't know in person, but I know online. But I
Mhm.
was exactly with my family where I need to go. Who can help me to start with my Medicare? Who can help me with about my bank accounting? It means I have really clear, not really clear. I think just a general context what I can do because it's not the same when you arrive with your suitcases, with your family, with a lot of concerns, with a lot of things. But maybe one of the things or one of the concerns that you have is not a lot. They say, okay, I need to go to this place. I was exactly where I need to go. For this reason, in one of the people that in my last post when I graduated from my MBCC, from my diploma, I really appreciate my international coach because she was the person who met online. And after she was the first person that I meet in person. I arrived here
Oh,
immediately.
okay.
The second day we meet with her in the college, and she knows me online, and we can see in person. That was really because I really know who can help me, who can support me. I think the most important thing that helps you in your transition is like to get informed to make real connections. It's exactly that you say. It's not just
Mhm.
to be online because sometimes, yeah, but when you have this opportunity in person, it's different. And it's exactly that we do, two of us, because we have the
Mhm.
opportunity to have a coffee, to take a real conversation. It's not just
Yeah.
online, right? That is different online than in person. That is totally different. But I think everything was like to inform, get connected, and many people is asking about what is networking. I think in my case,
Mm.
networking is to take action and real connections. And somebody
Yeah.
advised me about you need to have very clear what is the purpose of the networking. Because many people say, I am shy, I don't like to talk, but your networking is to get friends or to have job opportunities, or what is the purpose of your networking? You need to have
Mhm.
clear what is your purpose.
Absolutely. And in that sense too, like it's not just about getting something from people, right? I know that
Exactly.
you share what
Exactly.
you learn as well. You're very generous in the kind of um, information that you share with how you're presenting at St. John Newcomer Center, at Toastmasters. You know, those really help. And because also you had someone who was there for you as an ally. You had a coach. And I think that if we can also share that to others, that's going to be very beautiful. Now, what advice would you give to newcomers who want to grow professionally, personally, and even financially in Canada?
Okay. Personally, I think that My best advice, I think, is like to recognize your value. What is the
Mm-hmm.
value that you have? You need to engage in your personal brand, because the only person who really know who you are is you. Nobody else know about you. If you don't
Yeah,
work on yourself, I don't mean to pose everything, no, but you need to connect with people to attend networking events. It means like you are the only person who can promote yourself. It means
absolutely.
in this case, you only can understand the value that you have. The other question was personally, the other professional, right?
Yeah.
Um, in the case of professional, I think that understand that everybody has their own journey. If you want to compare with people, you have two ways: upwards or downwards. Upwards means help these people that you really admire can be your inspiration to do your best, but honor your own journey. Or downwards, you're just frustrated, get upset, and compare with this person. It means you have the choice what is the best option for you.
Yeah.
And in the case of financially, I think you need to forget everything that you think in your country. Because it's totally different.
Yeah.
I think that you need to get informed. You need to understand how it's working. Ask. For this reason, community is important, because when you know who can help you with ask you questions about these kinds of things, here I have a professional about this that you are. We have these kinds of people, these experts like you that can guide us about what we can do. Because sometimes one of the big errors that we have as newcomers is like, we can do everything, but you are in another place. You need to get informed. You need to ask for support. That is really important. Sometimes we are concerned, oh, but I don't need it because I can do it. Yes, you can do it, but you are in another country. You are in another culture, another rules, another laws. You need to ask for support. And you need to look for the right person who can help you with us.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and for letting me unpack what you have to say about all the growth mindset, like building meaningful connections, preserving our, our shared our traditions, our language, our own identity from the countries that we're from. And I'm sure that this would really bring value to our listeners of the podcast. Now, I have a
Mm,
confession to say.
okay.
I watched your video before, and then I rewatched this morning while I was on the treadmill. And it's funny because I was laughing when you made a joke about it. And then when you were done speaking, and then everybody clapped, I clapped too. And I was on the anyway, that's so funny of me when I was like, I feel like I was there and I could really connect to what you had to say. So if you don't mind, I'll share that link so that other people can watch you as well, what you did on that speaking series. So I'm really proud of you. And again, thanks for sharing all your information. And people can, I can link your, I can post your LinkedIn as well, right? Like, so people can find you if they want to follow you. Are you okay with that?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Samantha. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation
That is
like I
nice
did.
because we have a real connection and we can feel like friends that we are talking, not just like that you say. It's like to make real connections. That is the key of everything.
Perfect. So, if you found value on this podcast, feel free to share this with your friends. If you want your friends to know what other people's experience was like, definitely share this with your friends. And if you also want to share your own story, feel free to reach out to me and we'll talk about how to get started on this podcast. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Have a great day.